Hello, I really hope I'm live and this is working. I hope everyone's doing okay. It's been such a long time, I think I've forgotten how to do it. Anyway, I'm just going to let everybody on Twitter know that I am live here, and let's get going. So, how's everyone doing? I'm so ready for this bear market to be over. I don't know about everyone else. There we go. Okay, hopefully that's gone out. If hello Ashby Debs, hello. So glad it's working. Okay, now, no, we're not GBP down. I don't want to get my hopes up. No, here's the thing. Okay, let's start with Bitcoin. While people join now, I put a short video out on Twitter before about why I'm quite bullish Bitcoin here. And I'm going to start this again. So I'm going to take everything off my chart here. And I'm going to put it into log scale so we can see all the previous moves in Bitcoin. And if I go to the monthly markets, you know, they don't tend to repeat, but they kind of tend to rhyme, if you know what I mean. So corrections tend to previous corrections and cycles tend to be kind of the same. So if we look at these previous monthly corrections and how long they took, they've previously been like 12 or 13 months and then reverted again. So here this was 13 bars. If I use the same thing here, you can see that this low actually was 12 bars. It was one less. And here in this correction, if we go from the highest high, which is here, even though I actually think that this correction was like this, you can see that this low again was 13 bars. So 12, 13 bars tends to be the correction length. And so it wouldn't be weird for us to make a bottom and for this 15,000 level not to get retested. So I feel like we've had a first really strong 5-wave bounce off these lows, and so it's now just a correction. It's now just about how long this correction is going to last before we turn up again into this wave 3. One of the characteristics of Bitcoin bottoms is they tend to start really slowly. Nobody quite trusts them. And Bitcoin does this really nasty thing where it retests the lows or retests the highs and runs the stops. And so it does take a long time for Bitcoin to get going. It doesn't have that many fundamentals, and price is the number one. And once it does get moving, of course, everybody piles in. So it tends to end with really parabolic moves. And every Bitcoin bottom or every pullback has been really slow to bottom out and get going. So we saw that here. We've had this really nice first bounce. I'm going to go back to the weekly now. And we know that most impulsive moves are 5 waves. So from this low, I think we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was an important high that we made in April, and I feel like this is 3 waves back. Now, normally an Elliott wave, some people are counting this as the 5th wave ended here, and the normal correction, a normal Elliott wave correction, is back to the previous wave 4. And so I think that that's why a lot of people are trying to buy it here. But if in fact we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's possible we come back to this wave 4, which would put us somewhere between 20,000 and 22,000. So until we get back above this weekly 200 moving average and hold above it, there is a possibility that we still do another leg lower in a bigger kind of, you know, one thing about corrections, you know, when you're looking for 3-wave corrections, they can always turn into a bigger one. So you'll have a 3-wave, and then I'll have a 3-wave, and then it'll turn into a bigger. So there's your bigger 3-wave correction. And we're in a little bit of a risk of that here in Bitcoin, that we've had a first swing and we're going to do this back to this low, and there's our ideal wave 2, and then off we get when everybody's given up and gone, oh my god, the world's ending, we're back at 20,000, it will take off. So there is a little bit of a risk of that in Bitcoin. So how am I trading it? Well, it's a little bit tricky whilst we're underneath this weekly 200 moving average and the daily 200 moving average. It's a little bit tricky because there's always a chance we're just going to bang ahead, or we get a fake out move above it and it comes all the way back down again. And one thing I never want to see is an equal measured move, especially when they're like 3 swings, because if we then come back underneath the 61.8, it means that wave normally is just a correction. So I'm always a little bit wary of that, and I'm always a little bit wary of the fake out moves in Bitcoin. Now, normally this price action and this lovely looking, you know, correction would get me really excited. My real problem is it's really hard to find someone on Twitter that's not talking about the next bull run, or how bullish they are, or what they're going to buy this time around, and you know. And that makes me really nervous, because markets, you know, when you get a bottom, it's either when everyone's so fed up with it, they don't want to look at the chart anymore because it's not doing anything, or we have a really nasty sell-off. And so the fact that everybody is so bullish at the moment, and we're not above the daily 200 moving average, we just got rejected at it, and we're not above the weekly 200 moving average either, makes me really nervous. So, how have I been trading it? To be honest, as most people know, who've been in my group, that I buy 4-hour pullbacks. So I use Heikin-Ashi candles, which I'm going to switch to here, which are basically a moving average on a candle. They go green when on average you're going up again, and they go red when on average you're going down again. And I'm buying every 4-hour pullback to these moving averages, because we got all very nicely bunched up, and we're going up again. And my strategy usually for a 4-hour swing trade is if we get a red candle, I'll put my stop underneath the first red candle, and if it continues into a bigger correction, I'll stop out and wait for the next pullback and try again. So that's what I'm doing. And I bought it here on this next swing higher. Here we are though, but we're at a little bit of a tricky area, because if I measure from here to here and project it from here, where have we stopped today in Bitcoin exactly? So from the September 11th low, we've stopped exactly at an equal measured move level. That means for me, a daily close back underneath this 27,500 area means that this really was probably an equal measured move correction, not a bottom. And I'm going to lighten up and wait for a bigger pullback. And when you have an equal measured move like this, that gets underneath this 61.8 level, I'm afraid the normal or retrace is a 786 fib. Now, I'm not predicting. I try to be a trader rather than a forecaster, and so this is basically how I'm trading it. So there is a good chance here that we come back down to 25,000. We might do a lower high, and we may actually continue lower. So basically the message is that I think it's normal at an equal measured move level, and this 28,000 and these daily moving averages and weekly moving averages are really a big deal. So it's not weird to see some profit taking here. What we don't want is this profit taking to turn into a bigger bearish reversal, because that's going to mean for me that this is unfortunately just a correction. So that's how I'm trading it at the moment. And this feels like one of those weird weeks, the start of the month. I don't like how stock indexes are looking. You know, all year we've been hearing how we're going to have recession because the yield curve inverted, and then it didn't happen, and it didn't happen, and everybody right now, everyone's going, oh yeah, no, there's not going to be a recession, we're going to have a soft landing, right, when I think it's actually at the biggest risk that we are going to have one. Because if you look at what's happened before, when yield curves have inverted, it normally doesn't happen straight away. It's like 14 months to 20 something months later. So we're right now in that danger zone that we are going to have a recession. I'm just hoping this time that it's not going to be bad for Bitcoin. So that's where we are with Bitcoin. I'm going to take a look at ETH. Now with these daily moving averages, if we hold underneath here, you know, we could from here, unfortunately, with this equal measure move, see another leg lower. So we need to trade carefully. If you're long, be careful with leverage. And, you know, if you're dollar cost averaging, obviously you don't mind. You will get an opportunity if it keeps going down to buy some at a bit of a better price, and your average will be better. But if you're trading it, this is one of those danger levels, and we have not really confirmed that we're going up yet, unfortunately. Okay, if I take a look at ETH, I'm going to start first off taking a look at ETH Bitcoin, because we've got a very similar thing in ETH Bitcoin with 5 waves up, and we're looking for a 3-wave correction in this monthly chart in ETH Bitcoin. And as I said before, if you measure the first swing high to low, project that from the top of this swing, the 61.8 is normally a level, and we've sat on this level for 4 months trying to hold it, haven't been able to launch off it. If we would continue underneath it and it becomes resistance, it's at 0.061, I think we are likely to drop another 30%. This is Bitcoin, this is ETH against Bitcoin, not ETH against dollar, and down to 0.046. And if you, like me, use this ETH Bitcoin as a kind of alt market indicator, this unfortunately is saying Bitcoin's going to eat alt's lunch. And that tends to happen when, you know, Bitcoin tends to outperform all of the altcoins when the market is in a pullback or headed lower. And when everything is going up, people take profit in Bitcoin and move into other altcoins looking for the, you know, 10 bagger or 100 bagger, and altcoins tend to outperform. So that's the kind of key level that I'm looking for. It's at 0.061 actually in ETH Bitcoin. And while this is doing this, I'm not actually favoring ETH over Bitcoin. But if we take a look at ETH dollar, we're kind of, for me, and I'll take off all my scribblings on this chart, for me, we're kind of in no man's land. We're in between these monthly moving averages. We're very similar to Bitcoin and really struggling with bunched up moving averages here. To be honest, this could really go either way at the moment, but back underneath the weekly 200 today, just haven't really got above this daily 200. And if we look at this as an equal measured move, we're kind of in that corrective same pattern here, and the high yesterday, and it was this equal measured move level. So again, 1665 now, a daily close. This is really the key level, bull bear line for me. Underneath 1665, we go back to the bottom of the range potentially, or at least a 786 fib retrace of this whole move. So everything was looking really good this morning, and unfortunately it's not looking quite so happy now. Now we are holding above these daily moving averages. This is potentially just a start of the month shakeout, and we could launch higher from here, and I'm wrong. You know, when you're in a sideways move like this, I don't really like diddling in the middle. And you can see, if we extend this, you can see how many times in the middle of this range we've, you know, it's been resistance, support, like this is, you know, one of those levels, isn't it? Support here, resistance. So we could very easily from here go higher. So I don't think this is a good short right here, but this is really kind of decision level, isn't it? And we could bounce 50% back of this drop tomorrow, and then we'll see where we go from there. The first week of the month tends to be a little bit of a shakeout, and that's, I think, kind of where we are. Okay, so let's take a look at some other coins of interest. One of them is Ripple. And Ripple, unfortunately, God, I thought that this could continue higher, and it really hasn't. So let's apply our simple rules to where we are at the moment. So we had the big drop, the big weekly drop from the July high after the lawsuit news. And unfortunately, here we are underneath these weekly moving averages, and you know, I've put my fibs on from this high to low. There's 236 fib in terms of fibs for me as a confirmation that we made a bottom, and we've got rejected at it a couple of times. It's at 0.54. Above 0.54, I'm going to say we're probably going up again. That's what I would need to see us above, and we just keep getting rejected at it. So it's a sideways range. We've tried it 3 times. Look, on the 4 hour, haven't been able to close above this level. We're not going up until we do. If we look for targets now, I said before, in these markets really like a 786 fib retrace, and if we do this the other way, you can see this is where we're bouncing from. So 0.54 is our resistance. Above 0.56, when you reverse it to 786 fib, so that I've drawn it like from this low to this high. I'm trying to. I've got my magnet on and it's still. Nope. Let's draw it, and there we go. There we go. So we bounce from this 786 fib level. When you bounce from it, 0.544 is also the 61.8 confirmation level. So for me, when you bounce and reverse at a 786 fib retrace, the most common target, I'm not predicting, this is how I trade it. If we close above 0.4544, the meat in the sandwich trade for me is between 0.544 and 0.694. So that's quite a nice trade. That's what I'm looking for. And, you know, sometimes it goes higher than that. Really, this is the first target if we can reverse it. So until we do, in Ripple, you know, we're going to be looking for some kind of other bottoming pattern, maybe a double bottom. That would be quite an interesting look if we can hold it, and then, you know, but for now, unfortunately, we're not going up in this one either. And so many of the coins that I look at, unfortunately, I've got the same scenario. So it's tricky. Let's take a look at a few more. One more. Hold on, I'm not doing this. Okay, so some of my favorite coins have been, or coins of interest, have been the AI related tokens. So I've had quite a close look at those, but they are all quite closely related to NVIDIA. And until NVIDIA bottoms, I'm not sure that these coins are for sure going up. And when I look at where we are with NVIDIA, we're in this sideways range. And you know, we talked about how when you correct, you normally come back to a previous wave 4. So here, this was a previous wave 4. That's where we came back to. Here we come back. Jasper says, what time frame do I trade? My favorite, okay, my favorite time frame to trade for swing trades, really, that's trading, you know, lasting a few days to sometimes a few weeks, is a 4 hour. If it's a really volatile altcoin, I sometimes will look at them as a day trade on the hourly, just because I find them, you know, so volatile. But probably my favorite time frame is a 4 hour, but I like the daily and the weekly as well for swing trades. And I try one of the things that new traders tend to do is desperately hold on to trades that aren't working and can't wait to take profits in ones that are working. So one of the things that I say is really important, as I said, you know, let's go back to Bitcoin. I like to use a Heikin-Ashi candle. So if I enter a trade on a 4 hour, I'm not going to get out of it until it gives me a reversal signal on a 4-hour. And so I think that's really important. You don't want to be getting into a trade on a 4-hour and then going down to look at it on a 15-minute, desperately panicking because it's not working. So I think that that's quite good advice, because if you, whatever time frame you trade, if you don't run your winners, you will struggle to be profitable. So you need to cut the ones that aren't working and try and run the winners, and because every now and then you'll get a really nice big hit and that will be the one. Okay, so Nvidia, I still think, so if we go down and look at this Nvidia drop that we've had on the daily, we have reversed these daily moving averages. Whenever you go back to, whenever you get a bearish cross of moving averages like we've got here, so my 20 is underneath my 50. So when we're going up, the 20 is above the 50. When we're going down, the 20 is underneath the 50. When you come back to them the first time and they're the wrong way round, which is what these are for being bullish, you tend to get a nasty reversal, and quite often it'll be a double bottom or a really deep retrace. So if not another leg lower. So in Nvidia here, this daily 50 is quite important resistance, and I think we could see another leg lower from here, and I do think that we're going to come back down to these 400 area, 400 range. And here's the thing, if this 400 doesn't hold, I think that we are going to come down to the daily 200 moving average, and it'll be a bigger pullback. So if you are trading these AI related coins, this Nvidia chart is quite a good leading indicator. So the ones that I really like, all of them today, just like Bitcoin, have hit major resistance. For example, RNDR, here we are, previous swing high, previous swing low, important support and resistance level. Daily 200 moving average, we're back testing it from underneath. You can see before, when we've gotten underneath this 200 moving average and back tested it, we've come back and made a double bottom. So if you have been long anticipating this is a good pace to tighten up, maybe take some partial profit. We've had a really nice bounce, but this again is not a bullish reversal in RNDR until we get above this now, and we could have quite a big pullback here. If this is 5 ways, which I think it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're likely to come back to these daily moving averages, the 20 and 50 in this swing low here, which is at 1.4 and we're at 1.7. So think about where you got in and whether you're okay with riding it all the way back, because potentially from here we could end up, doing a much bigger pullback, especially if the AI stuff keeps going down. So INJ, this is another one, daily chart. Now I don't know, this double top slightly lower high here usually makes me think ABC correction. If I measure this high to low, it looks lovely with these moving averages and this bounce and this 61.8 level. So this looks great. It's everything I want to see for us to make a bottom here. But potentially we've done another just 3 wave. If that's the case, here we've stopped to look at it exactly an equal measured move, which makes me nervous that this has just been a corrective bounce. And so I'm going to say, for me, and I have some of this one, if we close back underneath 7.57, it's probably just a correction, and I'm going to step aside and wait for a bigger pullback and maybe another swing lower in this one. And if we pull back, and I'm going to look at lower time, if we can hold here and just turn higher, happy days. But because this is exactly an equal measure move, it's just making me, I think that potentially this was also another one that was just a corrective bounce. So I'm just going to say be careful. All of them have made what looks like they could just be corrective bounces in these AI related stocks. So just watch out for that. Now we've had a couple of requests. I'm going to look at those, and there are some charts that look you know, amazing, and I'll take a look at those. So I'm just going to find my list of hold on. Okay, so can I look at XMR? Yes, I can. All of these coins, you know, BCH and BSV, all the coins related to Bitcoin are all doing really well at the moment, you know, but they're all going to live or die depending on what happens to Bitcoin and whether it's made a bottom or not. So with all of these coins that I like, I'm doing it as 4-hour swings. I'm buying them when they are give me long entries, and I'm trying to catch the one that keeps going. That's how I'm going to trade this. I don't think at this point that shorts are a good idea, but let's okay, XMR. If I look at this chart, first off, if I look at this chart on a weekly, it's very, let's tidy up the chart here with my scribblings. It's very similar looking, I think, to Bitcoin. We are sideways, bounce from a nice 786 fib, a bit like Ripple, and we're going sideways with bunched up moving averages. My problem with this is this shape. All of these swings that it's been making look corrective to me. So this looks like 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, and we're doing the next leg down, right? So is it a bottom yet? No, it's all corrective, sideways consolidation bounces and XMR Monero. So it's not going up yet. Now, if I measure this first swing down like this, measure it from here, here we are sitting on this 61.8 level, where this is where this swing, this C leg, actually do it like this. We're not quite there. The thing is with this is I think this is 1 and this is a funny 2 and 3. For me, this looks, I have to say, this shape underneath all these daily weekly moving averages point to, and this bear flag shape point to one more push lower and a retest of 131. And I would be very careful, I think, buying it like this. How do I get my fibs to look like this? Okay, I will Jasper at the end. In fact, I can make a separate video and I'll post that on Twitter. I don't like a messy chart, right? So when you put fibs on TradingView, I customize them. So let me go back to settings, and yeah, I'm trying to find a default. Okay, I will make a video on how I make them look like this, but I basically change them so that they don't clutter up my chart with big colors and colored backgrounds, which is what the standard one on TradingView does. So I'm going to tidy them up anyway. Take everything off, and if we just look at the moving averages, and I use a 20, a 50 and a 200, we're underneath them, and this rally, sideways choppy corrective bear flag look, for me would be more bullish if we had a failed retest to the lows and then bounce sharply from it. So for me, yeah, Monero, I think more likely a retest of 131 before we go higher. And I'm wrong. Clearly we've got this previous wave 4. So we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Here's the top of this wave 4. This is where this resistance is. This is where we keep trying to get above, and only if we can recover it and then recover this 200 moving average as well, we'll be on our way up again. So for me, unfortunately, got a little bit of a bullish cross here, but we've got flat sideways moving averages, and when you have that, you need to break out of your sideways range. So XMR, unfortunately, I think is still headed lower. Let's look at another request, KSM. Gosh, almost every chart I look at. First off, I'm going to say, look, the level that this needs to get above to get me really excited it's going up again is this low here. And you can see how it's become a bit of a level on the weekly. And now if I go down to the daily here, I'm always looking for a bottoming pattern. So the same thing here. We could say, well, above this daily 50 moving average and holding above it and holding above these highs would give us a really nice inverted head and shoulders pattern, and that is a very nice bottoming pattern. And then my first target would be up here to this big support and resistance level at 23. If we can get above 19 and then above 23, we're going to look for the 200-day moving average and so on and so on. For now though, this is a pretty nasty sideways range, and when head and shoulders patterns fail, it's usually because they're an ABC. So if we were to get a false breakout here, or if it's a breakout that fails, it's because this is just an ABC making an equal measured move. So I always mark where that level is. So I mark from the head to the neckline, and I project it from this right shoulder. And so this for me would be the level we'll fail at, and there's a lot of support and resistance here. So if we hold this and it's just a false breakout, 20.6 would be where it fails, and if it continues above 20.6, I think 23. And yeah, and we shouldn't, you know, when you get a bottoming pattern like this, if we get a real breakout, you want to see real momentum. So it shouldn't break out and then come all the way back to this neckline. You know, we had some nasty moves like that last week, didn't we, in Bitcoin, where it looked like it got higher and it got smacked down. I really do think that that was to do with the end of quarterly options and options expiration. And I think the market makers were trying to keep price pinned at a level, and that's why. Honestly, the volume in Bitcoin derivatives and Bitcoin futures is 4 times what it is in the spot market. So many of the participants in the spot market are hodlers, for want of a better word. And so you kind of really need to pay attention to what's going on in the derivatives market that could move the market. So I think that's what happened with Bitcoin anyway. So yeah, KSM, unfortunately, I don't really see a bottom in this one. Now, there is another one I've been trading, which is Rune. But Rune, let's take a look where we are in Rune, if I haven't thrown it away. Here we go. Show you what I'm looking for. So in Rune, weekly chart, lovely bullish cross of our weekly moving averages, got above, pulled back, found support, and now here we are at a new high. I'm going to put regular candles on, and here we are back testing. This isn't a head and shoulders pattern because it's too imbalanced, but it is a really nice support and resistance level that we're holding above. So for me, in my long here in Rune, one of the things, you know, if you draw candlesticks, one of the things with candlesticks, 50% of the candlestick open close, when you get a big thrust candle like this one, needs to hold as support. So really, Rune is back testing kind of ideal support, and I don't want it to come back any further to keep going higher. So I'm watching this low. This is a weekly. I'm watching this on the 4-hour, and I've actually got this swing low here. My stop's underneath here. Yeah, I don't really want it to come back. I don't mind if it comes down and says hello, but a daily close under there, and I'm going to abandon my Rune and wait for a bigger pullback, which is likely to be back towards this low and makes it a false breakout. So big picture, I like this one on all the time frames. I think it's got more upside potential. I'm just concerned that if everything heads lower, Rune could see a bigger pullback. So I'm watching out for that. There are some like this CAS, look at this, lovely highs. Let's go to the weekly chart, put regular candles on. Doesn't this look, but we're stalled at these highs. This makes me a little bit nervous that this is going to do a big, you know, normally in a correction, right, if we say that an impulsive move is 5 waves and a nice correction is 3 waves, that's all happy days. Sometimes though, these corrections, instead of looking simple like this, they look like this, and sometimes they even look like this, so it doesn't even look like a correction. And I think that there's a little bit of that here in Casper. And so for me, Casper really kind of doesn't, I'm going to go to the daily. If this is our first swing lower and this ends up just being a correction and rolling over again before it makes a new high, I'm thinking, you know, that this potentially could be a bigger three-wave correction. So I'm being a little bit cautious for this one. And this swing low here really is our sideways range underneath that. So if you're hodling this one underneath 0.043, we could end up seeing a bigger ABC correction like this before we go up again in this one, even though it looks really bullish. Okay, so I hope that's useful. I'll be doing this again and just getting back into the swing of things. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, or if you'd like updates every day, then you can subscribe to my Hello Claudia EGLD. I'll take a look at that one. Yeah, how are you? If you'd like to subscribe to my Twitter, it's $20 a month, and I do crypto updates every day, and I have a Slack group so you can ask for any chart you want or any advice or any hand holding. So let's take a look at EGLD. Haven't looked at this one for a while. I'm going to start with regular candles on a weekly. Just kind of have a look where we are. Because really, in terms of a weekly, this is another one that looks like it's still, unfortunately, in a downtrend, holding underneath previous lows. They, you know, in a trending market like we are doing here, what you tend to find is previous swing lows become resistance on a bounce. So, like if I put this here, this was a, well, we keep going, we have a bounce, keep going, and so on. And here in this most recent swing lower, we have a swing low, and this low here becomes resistance on a bounce, and we keep going. And now this swing low becomes resistance on a bounce. Unless we get above it, we're still going down, you know. And unfortunately, this also has a bit of a bear flaggy look to me. It doesn't look enough of a bottom yet. So I have to say, not yet for this one. Now, we could project, you know, new lows, and we can count. Once you can count 5 waves down, there is a pretty good chance, you know, that we get a bigger bounce, and it would take us up to this swing high, if that. And I think that we could say here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so yes, potentially. And one thing I like to do is, if wave 1 and 5 to have a kind of equal relationship. Maybe we're not quite there yet. So not a bottom yet for EGLD, unfortunately, that I can see. So you know, a close underneath above this daily 20 moving average, a close above this previous swing high, support and resistance, that would be a good sign. But for now, unfortunately, no, not interesting to me yet, unfortunately. Even the ones that have been doing well, like Rollbit is one, makes money. Kind of an interesting coin. I'm not sure I would trade on their platform, but they do make money, and their token, you know, is a sign of how people view them. If I measure from the lows in Rollbit here, and I think that we've got room to potentially squeeze a little bit higher. But if we stall here at this 4-hour 200 moving average, that's the daily 50 moving average. And if we look at these on the wrong way on the daily here, this is another example of what we're seeing in Bitcoin with or other coins, where our daily moving averages are the wrong way round. And what if you rally into them in a 3-wave pattern and get rejected, which it looks like we are in Rollbit, it usually means either a deep retrace or a retest to the lows, or you need to see a kind of double bottom for a bottoming pattern when these moving averages are the wrong way round. And sometimes it means that it's not, unfortunately, the bottom yet. So yeah, we've hit if we're going up again, we really need to get above that daily 50 moving average, which is on the 4 hour, the 200 moving average. So not quite there yet, unfortunately, in Rollbit either. Okay, I hope that was useful. And see you next week. I'm trying to get back in the swing, so I'll get better. Good luck.